Hey there! You're watching Book Demystified, and I'm so glad you're here. Today, we're diving into The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for this one. Imagine scrolling through social media right now. Perfect families on vacation, flawless home makeovers, people crushing their fitness goals while you're eating cereal for dinner again. Sound familiar? If you've ever felt like everyone else has their life figured out while you're just trying to survive Tuesday, you're experiencing what millions of Americans battle every single day, the exhausting pursuit of perfection. But what if I told you that this very struggle, this feeling of not being enough, is actually the doorway to something incredible? Brené Brown spent over a decade researching shame, vulnerability, and courage, and what she discovered will completely flip your understanding of what it means to live a fulfilling life. Brown isn't just some academic throwing around theories. She's a researcher who had her own vulnerability breakdown on a stage in front of thousands of people, and that moment changed everything. Her work has reached millions because she speaks to something we all feel but rarely talk about, that nagging sense that we're not quite measuring up to some invisible standard. The core of Brown's message is revolutionary yet simple. Wholehearted living comes from embracing our imperfections, not hiding from them. She defines wholehearted living as engaging with the world from a place of worthiness, believing that we're worthy of love and belonging exactly as we are. Not when we lose 10 pounds, not when we get the promotion, not when we finally organize our closets, but right now, in this messy, imperfect moment. Brown discovered that people who live wholeheartedly share certain characteristics, and here's where it gets interesting. None of them are about being perfect. Instead, they've mastered what she calls the guidepost practices. Think of these as the GPS coordinates for authentic living in a world obsessed with appearances. The first game changer is cultivating authenticity and letting go of what other people think. Brown found that authenticity isn't something you achieve once and you're done. It's a daily practice. It's like going to the gym for your soul. Every day, you choose between being real or being liked, and wholehearted people consistently choose being real. This doesn't mean being brutally honest about everything. It means showing up as yourself, even when it's uncomfortable. Here's something that'll surprise you. Brown discovered that perfectionism isn't about healthy achievement or self-improvement. It's actually a shield we use to protect ourselves from shame, blame, and judgment. Perfectionism whispers, if I do everything perfectly, I can avoid or minimize criticism and blame. But here's the plot twist. Perfectionism is actually correlated with depression, anxiety, and eating disorders. It's like wearing a suit of armor to a swimming pool. It might protect you, but it's also going to drown you. The research shows that perfectionism is on the rise in America, especially among young people. We're living in a culture that profits from our insecurities, constantly selling us the message that we're not enough, but their product or service will fix us. Brown calls this never enough culture, and it's making us sick, literally. One of the most powerful concepts in the book is shame resilience. Brown defines shame as the intensely painful feeling that we're unworthy of love and belonging based on something we've done, said, been, or not been. Shame is different from guilt. Guilt says, I did something bad, while shame says, I am bad. The difference is crucial because you can fix what you did, but when you believe you are the problem, where do you even start? Brown found that people with high shame resilience share 4 common elements. They recognize shame triggers and understand how shame affects them physically and emotionally. They practice reaching out and sharing their experiences with trusted people. They speak to their shame by naming it and talking about it. And they show themselves compassion. It's like having an emergency toolkit for those moments when your inner critic goes into overdrive. Hey, if you're enjoying this and love free book summaries that respect your time and brain, there are a few simple ways to support us. You can hit that subscribe button, become a channel member, or grab the book via our link in the description. If you want to go a step further, you can also send a small tip via thanks button available on the video. Every little help allows us to create authentic and useful content just for you. Another fascinating discovery Brown made is about vulnerability. In American culture, we often see vulnerability as weakness, but her research proves the opposite. Vulnerability is actually the birthplace of creativity, innovation, and change. Think about every meaningful relationship in your life. They all required vulnerability. Every creative project, every entrepreneurial venture, every moment of growth happened when someone was brave enough to step into uncertainty. Brown talks about what she calls vulnerability hangovers, that feeling you get after sharing something real and then immediately regretting it. You know that moment when you open up to someone and then spend the next 3 hours replaying the conversation, wondering if you said too much? That's normal, and it doesn't mean you made a mistake. It means you're human. The book introduces the concept of enough, recognizing that you are enough just as you are. This doesn't mean you stop growing or improving, but it means you stop believing that your worth is conditional on your achievements. In a culture that constantly pushes us to do more, be more, have more, this is revolutionary thinking. Brown also explores the difference between belonging and fitting in. Fitting in is about assessing a situation and becoming who you need to be accepted. Belonging is about showing up authentically and being accepted for who you are. The tragedy is that most of us spend our lives trying to fit in, not realizing we're sacrificing the very thing that would allow us to truly belong. One of the most practical aspects of the book is Brown's work on boundaries. She discovered that the most compassionate people are also the most boundaried. This blew up the myth that kindness means saying yes to everything and everyone. Boundaries aren't walls. They're gates with hinges. You decide when they open and when they close. Brown addresses something particularly relevant to American culture, the armor we wear to protect ourselves from vulnerability. Some people use perfectionism, others use numbing behaviors like overworking, overeating, or endless scrolling. Some use cynicism, believing that if you don't expect much, you won't be disappointed. The problem is that this armor doesn't just protect us from pain. It also blocks out love, joy, and connection. The research on joy is particularly eye-opening. Brown found that people who live wholeheartedly don't just experience more joy, they practice gratitude actively. They don't wait for good things to happen to feel grateful. They look for things to be grateful for as a daily practice. It's like training your brain to notice the light instead of only seeing the shadows. Perhaps the most challenging concept in the book is what Brown calls ordinary courage. This isn't about heroic acts or grand gestures. It's about the daily choice to show up and be seen, even when you can't control the outcome. It's having that difficult conversation with your partner, applying for the job you want but might not get, or simply admitting when you don't know something. Brown's work on cultivating intuition and trusting faith is particularly relevant in our data-obsessed culture. She argues that while information is important, wisdom comes from the integration of knowledge, experience, and intuition. In a world where we can Google anything, the ability to trust our inner knowing becomes even more valuable. The book concludes with a powerful reminder that wholehearted living isn't a destination, it's a journey. There's no graduation day from being human. You don't reach a point where you've figured it all out and never struggle again. Instead, you develop the tools and practices that help you navigate the inevitable challenges with more grace and self-compassion. What makes Brown's work so powerful is that it's not about adding more to your already full plate. It's about subtracting the things that don't serve you. It's about letting go of who you think you're supposed to be and embracing who you actually are. And in a world that profits from your insecurities, that act of self-acceptance is nothing short of radical. Because the truth is, your imperfections aren't bugs in your system. They're features. They're what make you human, relatable, and real. And that, according to Brené Brown's research, is exactly what the world needs more of.